Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss Kid. I know that we always read the 15 Black Eyed Susan nominees, the picture books, and we don't really talk a lot about the novels and the graphic novels. So today I'm going to take some time and read the first two chapters of The Lost Library by Rebecca Steed and Wendy Mass. And if you like it, you can pick it up and read it grab it from the library and read it yourself at home. I'll start with the first two chapters, and then in another video, I may continue with a few more, depending on how much you guys like it. So if you do like it, come find me in the library and tell me to keep reading. So this is The Lost Library. For the librarians of the past, present, and future. Chapter 1. Mortimer. Mortimer waited on the cool stone basement floor in front of mouse door number 4, his fluffy orange body covering as much territory as it could. His paws were spread in front of him, as if he were about to catch a watermelon. Books, in Mortimer's opinion, got it wrong about cats. In books, cats were usually stuck up, sometimes even uncaring, as if cats had no feelings at all. Cats had hearts too. Feelings, his heart said. Mortimer had a lot of feelings. What he didn't have were a lot of words. Mice were better with words than he was. Mice talked a lot. The bell on top of Martinville Town Hall began to ring, as it did at 6:00 p.m. every day. The scratching behind the door was getting louder. A mouse will be coming through any second now. Apples, he heard a small voice say. I smell apples. And behind the voice, there were murmurs of excitement. Here they come, Mortimer thought. He put on what he hoped was a gentle smile, just as the first of the mice emerged, shaking off little bits of dirt and sawdust, and, as usual, talking. Is that a cat? A second mouse appeared. What sort of terrible place is this, with a heartless cat standing by the door? This must be a bad dream. A third mouse popped through the hole. Mice, Mortimer knew, rarely traveled alone. Welcome, Mortimer said. He glanced nervously at the potato bin. Last week, a mouse had managed to jump into it. Mortimer had to wait for him, remaining perfectly still under the stairs for almost 3 hours. Please follow me, mice, Mortimer tried to sound cheerful. This way to outside. But we just got inside, one of the mice whined, using his outstretched arms like windshield wipers. Mortimer herded them into a small mouse hole in another corner of the basement, also known as mouse door number 3. Mice, he'd learned, never liked to go out the same way they had come in. That horrible cat has 6-toed feet. How terrifying! Wait a minute. Could this cat be the 6-toed grouch? The exit, which was not far from the old library book cart, led outdoors, away from Miss Goggin, the apples, and Mr. Brock's cheese, and the potato bin. And now I suppose we are expected to go straight out into the cold again. In fact, seeing Mortimer and his sizable paws, the three of them were already crowding around the mouse hole, trying to leave. Not Cold, Mortimer said. It's summertime. Be careful, though. There's a road on the other side of this door. Cars. But everything is fine. Oh, great, one of them said. Thanks for nothing, six-toed grouch. And he disappeared through the hole. And by the way of everything is not fine, the last mouse added. I'm very hungry. But keeping her eyes on Mortimer's paws, he actually did have 6 toes on each. The mouse squeezed himself through the hole backwards. Sorry, Mortimer said. Keep moving, please. Sorry. Cats are never sorry, said the mouse, just before vanishing into the night. Everyone knows that cats have no feelings. Mortimer didn't say anything. There was no point, because they were gone. He pressed his eyes to the small hole, looking to see that they had made it safely across the road. Goodbye, he whispered. Goodbye, and good luck. Miss Scoggin did not tolerate mice. By now, Mortimer knew that he couldn't stop them from coming in through the mouse holes. He'd carefully numbered them, mouse doors 1 through 5. The mice had been coming for all the years he'd lived in the house, and there wasn't much he could do about it, other than gently guide them back outside again. He'd learned to hear their scratching and was always ready to meet them at a door and point them to the nearest exit. Mortimer did not think of himself as good with words, but his hearing was excellent. He tried to straighten up the basement. As usual, rushing around the way they did, the mice had banged into things. Tonight, 3 apples had fallen from a tall, wobbly shelf. Even with 24 toes, Mortimer could not pick up apples. He could roll them to a spot near the stairs where Al would be sure to see them right away. He lined them up for her. Maybe they were not too bruised, or she could make applesauce. Again. When the basement was neat and quiet, he took a deep breath, savoring the smell of apple muffins that floated down the kitchen stairs. Al was baking, as she did most Sundays. Through one of the small, high basement windows, he saw the day's light fading. He exhaled and felt happy. Then his eyes fell upon the cart of old library books. His happiness went quiet, and a guilty feeling wrapped around him, like one of Al's hugs, which were always a little too tight. My fault, his heart said for the millionth time. All my fault. He looked away. Chapter 2. Mortimer. Not long after the mice left, Al came downstairs, ignoring the apples he'd lined up for her. She sat herself down on the basement floor, where she did not move for almost an hour. She was staring at the library cart. In 20 years, Al had never done that before. Mortimer wondered if she needed a hug and went over to stand on one of her feet. Oh, dear cat, she said, and reached for him. Little too tight, Mortimer thought, but he allowed it. When Al began to take the books off the cart, stacking them on the floor all around him, Mortimer closed his eyes. That delicious book smell, his heart said. He let himself think about the library and his kitten days. Mortimer and his sister Petunia had loved their games. Boss of the library was Petunia's favorite. The rules were simple. Whoever climbed the highest place was the winner. Mortimer, with his 24 toes, was a good climber, but he rarely won. Petunia climbed higher. She had 6 toes on every paw, just like he did. He could still remember her face smiling down at him from the highest bookshelf in the old library stacks. Once, she'd somehow made it up on the top of the library's big blue doors. His eyes still closed, Mortimer remembered. Petunia was like a beautiful, triumphant snowball way up near the ceiling. A stuck snowball. Miss Scoggin had stood on a chair to get her down. Miss Scoggin was Mortimer's favorite. Her hugs were never too tight. These happy thoughts were interrupted by Al. Dear cat! Al was clutching her notebook. He saw that she had drawn a lot of marks on the library cart and piled all the books onto it again, messily. Her cheeks were flushed. We must wake Miss Scotian, she told him. There's no time to lose. He followed her upstairs and then right back down to the basement, now with Miss Scotian floating sleepily behind them. I was having the most delightful dream, Scotian told Al. I dreamed I was at the movies. I believe I was the theater in Grantville. They have superior popcorn, my dear. You must go there, please do. Al shoved a plate of apple muffins at her. I have a plan, and I need a lookout. It was almost dawn when Mortimer realized that Al and Miss Scotian intended to push the library cart outside. Outside, he told himself. They are taking it away, his heart said. This was a terrible idea, in Mortimer's opinion, and he told them so, until Miss Scotian pointed at him and said to Al, Do you remember how to feed the dear cat his dinner? He is meowing quite a bit. And Al said, I did feed him. Maybe he's just feeling controversial. She leaned toward Mortimer and said, Are you saying very important things, dear cat? How tiring, Mortimer thought. There must be another way, because he did not want that library cart to go anywhere. And then before he could make an actual plan, Al was pushing it towards the cellar door. And Miss Scotian was right behind her. What should he do? This cart of old books was all that was left of his first home, his library. It was all that was left of his happy memories of kittenhood and his Petunia. All my fault, his heart said. And now they were almost at the door. He cried, Stop! And leapt from the floor to the top of the library cart. The cart kept moving. Mortimer's bulk was mostly fur. He only weighed about 9 pounds. Al laughed. And away we go. Mortimer had never felt so misunderstood in his life. But he faced forward and stayed where he was. My library, his heart said. What's left of it, he reminded himself. Outside, in the dark, Mortimer watched Al kneel in the grass and dismantle the library cart. His library was in pieces. He had not been able to protect it after all. Al sawed. She hammered. She glued. Mortimer was getting a stomach ache. Then she pointed at a towel-wrapped bundle a few steps away. Guess what's in there? She asked Mortimer. Do not break the books, he told her. Please do not hurt any books. Meow to you too, Al said, putting the towel bundle toward them. He looked at her. It did annoy him sometimes, the way she assumed he had no idea what she was saying, when in fact she was the one who could not understand him. Doors, she said, lifting a small square of wood and glass out of the towel bundle. The thing in her hand looked very familiar. Then he realized it belonged to the little cabinet over the sink at home. The cheese cupboard doors! She had taken them both off their hinges. Correction, she had taken the hinges too. And now, from one of her dress pockets, she produced a screwdriver. He went to sit with Miss Goshen. Oh, good, she said. You can help me be lookout. Meow twice if you see anyone coming. Mortimer sighed. He hoped they could go home soon. There was just a bit of light growling in the sky when Al finished her little library with stolen cheese-covered doors. Mortimer was tired. He trailed home after Miss Goshen and Al. But when he reached their porch, Mortimer realized that he could not go inside. Not with my library outside, his heart said. What's left of it? He reminded himself. Mortimer turned around. He walked down the steps and away. My library, his heart said, still needs me. We'll do chapter 3. One more. This is Evan. On the absolute last Monday morning of 5th grade, Evan climbed the dirt road that led from his house to the Martinville town green, where his school was. Climbed, because it was mostly one log hill. If you want me to keep reading, you can either check this book out in the library, or you can come find me and tell me to read some more.